welcome to the 40 to 400 podcast. I am your host, Jamie Daire. I wanted to say thanks for checking out this stream. Thanks for checking out the cast, where you can find us on YouTube. I am recording these live sessions because I think make it more fun to just be in the moment. So, with that being said, today we are going to talk about something very important to anyone that's, trying to get out and play music. Today's my gigging gear rundown. Again, I play in a country band. We're called South of 90. Please feel free to check us out anytime you'd like. We definitely enjoy, getting to know our followers and our crowd, and try and put on the best show that we can. Just turn on these headphones here. So, anyways, let's get to the good stuff. So obviously, I don't have a setup where I can move the camera around because it's pretty stationary, but I can definitely do my best to explain what everything is. So please just bear with me. This is going to be your look at what I call my gigging gear. Let me get something pulled up here real quick on the computer, and while that's loading, I'll go ahead and start with, let's get to the meat and potatoes of my sound. So things that I generally always keep in my bag, and I'm going to pull out my bag here in a second to show you everything that I take to the shows. First and foremost, I feel the most important thing is you always want to have a decent length on your quarter to quarters. What I mean by quarter to quarter is this is a 1/4 inch cable here. I put tape on pretty much everything with a color, just because when you're playing on the stage and there's multiple people on the stage with multiple cords, and everyone has their own type of gear that they bring to the shows, so it makes it nice and easy if you have a certain color on all your own cables, or some type of a labeling thing. So in case you're wondering why there's that orange tape on that's because I marked that that's one of my cables. This one here wasn't an over expensive cable that I bought, surprisingly enough. It wasn't, you can find certain cables out there that are much cheaper, or you can find bigger quantities, but quality I've learned over the last few years of recording music and shows. My daughter's out cooking food. Again, this is a live stream, and I'm just a guy at home hanging out with his family and trying to show you what I enjoy to do. So this is a Roadhog cable. I don't remember what I paid for it. It's probably 10 foot, at maximum. Maybe 15. I can't remember. It's been some years since I bought this guy, but I use it very often from when I plug my bass guitar direct to my guitar amp, or to any other type of device that I'm wanting to output my guitar into. I'm gonna generally use this cord. Even when I'm going wireless, I still use this, and I'll explain all that coming up. But that is very important. Because if you're going to be on the stage and you're going to be chained to your amp, you might as well have a good cable. This is one. I have another set of them that I use for shows that we play on bigger stages. Those are 25 foot. I thought it'd be great to make sure to get sufficient length of cords after running through situations where you're playing a show and you go to set everything up, and then you're like, oh man, my cords won't reach. We've all been there, and you always try to figure out how to make it work. One way to make them work is 1/4 inch adapters, where you go a quarter on one side, quarter on the other, and you can make the cords in theory longer. I feel that using adapters like that, yes, it's convenient, it's quick if you need it in a hurry, but then it just becomes another variable of something that can actually go wrong with your gear. So just bear that in mind. That's from experience talking. So guitar cable, super, super, super important. So I will tell you about this guy here. Um, this beauty right here, I've been using at the shows now for probably the last 2 or 3 months. I'm going to go ahead and sit down while I talk to you here. This here is a TC Electronic is the brand. I believe it is a BB 250. Oh, BH. Sorry, BH. TC Electronic is the brand. And the model is the BH 250, which I believe stands for bass head. Because it is in what they call a bass head. When you look at a bass guitar rig, there's different styles. You have an all-in-one unit. So an all-in-one unit is called a combo amp. The reason why they call that is because it'll come with the speakers. All in one unit, it'll generally have a speaker. It'll have a tweeter of some sort or a porthole for sound, and then it also has a built-in amplifier. And those are very convenient for small venues. They're very convenient for big venues. It all depends on the kind that you get. I've not used a whole lot of different types of them because I've just never really been in that. Had a reason to. I kind of just found an amp that sounded pretty good and I could afford at the time, and that's what I would use. Had some great amps along the way. I actually lucked out. My first real bass guitar amp that I bought was a Ampeg SVT4 Pro. In bi-amp mode, it could be 1600 watts, which I never got to experience because I bought it used, and the guy that had it before me, he was playing a lot of shows with his band, and when he retired from gigging, he sold that amp to me. I ended up using it with I believe right off the bat it was a 410 cabinet of some sort, and then I ended up using it with, I believe it was actually I think it was a crate amp a crate cabinet at the time, and then I ended up getting 810s because when you're playing in rock bands and metal bands and things like that, you got to go big. You got to you want to get everything out of it, and you want to give the big sound, the big show. So I got a set of 810s, and let me tell you, they sounded awesome. Awesome. However, carrying 810s around in one cabinet, especially, some time ago, everything was heavy. Each speaker has weight to it. The box has weight to it. So you add all that weight, plus you have to be able to drive it around for transportation. To have trying to put it in a smaller car, it would not fit in the back seat and let the doors close or go through it correctly. So it ended up, right off the bat, it posed a very big problem. I wasn't a real big bass nerd at that time, but I did learn some valuable lessons on having big giant equipment and having to move it around. Was non fun. And the reason why I bring these stories up is because when we got going in south of 90 again, at the time I started out with a PV combo amp. And again, back to that point is that a combo is everything all in one. And I had a PV. I think I had a 12 or a 15-inch speaker, big speaker, and it had a 3-inch tweeter. 3-inch drive, like porthole or whatever they're called in the back, and it was it was sufficient. It had some built-in features that I liked, and I had gotten it I traded it to a buddy for a drum set, and when we got going in south of 90 again, that's all I had, because I didn't again need a better system than that or a bigger rig than that because wasn't really playing for a while, and especially not playing bass. So I had contacted a buddy of mine, and we were talking, and I was just stating that I was using my PV amp and things, and he told me if I was interested, he would let me use his bass rig at the time, and I could use it and buy it from him. And it was my old rig, the SVT4 Pro Ampeg. but he had bought a 410 crate cabinet for it. So you have two components on a larger system. Um, so you have the bass head, bam, and then you have the bass cab. The cabinet is what cab is short for. It's basically just a speaker box. They, because it's a speaker cabinet, it keeps it, put up and protected and things like that. Um, so I bought the Ampeg SVT4 Pro and the Crate 410 cabinet off of him. He was using that in the band that we were playing in at the time. I think it was just Circle Yes. And then he started playing in Bourbon Street in a country band for a while. But pardon me. But he, was done playing for at the time. So I bought the system off of him, and I used it, a lot for a couple of the years, probably the better part of 2 years. Um, I broke the handles on the cabinet because they were so heavy, the cabinets themselves, and the handles that were on it were just not made to be held one at a time, apparently. But you break one by accident, and then you don't have any handle to hold on to, so you're going to hold it with the other one, and then you break that one off. So I ended up remedying that situation with a couple of long bolts, and several washers and nuts put on them. I ended up having to drill some holes into the side of the cabinet for the handle. To the way the system was, you had the handle spot on it, and then the handle set on top of it, basically making a cross member. And the system just wasn't adequate for that heavy of a cabinet to be carried on a weekly basis. So I broke them and fixed them, and we were playing at a fair, one of the couple fairs we played that year, and I had to carry my system across big field. Usually you can pull pretty close to the stage and drag everything or tote it with a cart or whatever. But this show, because we were at a smaller fairground, there was no place to park anywhere nearby, so we had to carry our stuff, which was fine. By that time, us playing a lot of shows, I had problems with moving the cabinet around because it was just so heavy. So I ended up I bought on Amazon, I ended up buying casters that were removable, but they were made for musical equipment, because I think they were Ernie balls. And so the casters work great when you're playing at smaller gigs or smaller bars and things like that. You get to the back door, you unload it, you drop it, and then you push it wherever the hell you want to go. Well, with this situation, it was different. So I couldn't drag it because the wheels would not do very good in the grass. And we ended up carrying them quite a distance. And I said to myself after that, I said, I got to figure a smaller setup out, because my back can't handle carrying all that heavy stuff across the field and then playing for a while, wearing yourself out, and then having to break it down, carry it all back. Screw that. If you're playing half a dozen shows a year, you don't mind having to go and spend that extra energy on carrying a heavier amp. So, food for thought: the SVT4 Pro bass guitar amp, 49.5 pounds. Without the case, without anything, just the amp itself was 49.5 pounds. Then, of course, you got to get a case to put it in to protect it. And then usually if you get a case and you're playing, you want to get a couple of more components and being able to put in the case. So on that case, what I had, I think, I can't remember if it was a 5U or a 6U, but it had the Ampeg took up 2 spaces out of the roadie case. So then I ended up buying another. It was a server, like a computer server. It's a drawer that has a lock and key. So I believe it was 2U. So I had 2 and then 2 more. So there's 4 U's just with this one case. And the reason why I bought that drawer was because we were playing at certain, some places, and we would leave our gear overnight because we would play it for the full weekend. Well, if you have microphones and guitar picks and all those things, they eventually miraculously just learn to grow legs and walk away at times. I know it's amazing. I've seen it happen. So I ended up buying that drawer so I'd be able to store my microphone and some other things like that to be able to keep the setup set up overnight and locked up. But moving forward, last year, the year of, the first year of COVID, I guess I could call it, we played a handful of shows, and most of them were acoustic guitar shows, or acoustic shows, so it's just stripped down, way down. So I ended up getting a Line 6 bass pod XLT off of a friend of mine, and I took that pedal board, and because it had a tuner and it had a bunch of sound effects, and it does, has a whole bunch of bells and whistles. And what I would do at the shows is I would put that on the floor in front of me, and then I would run the wire from that, the quarter, the one I showed you guys, I would run that directly to the soundboard, and then I would play my bass guitar through that and use the speakers, the main speakers in the powered sub, rather than dragging around an actual amp, because it's not always necessary. And I found that out last year that I could make that work just using a board, because I also run sound at the shows. So anything I can do to slim down the space in my car and the amount of extra heavy carrying and work I had to do, I had no desire for it. And I ended up finding myself enjoying not having a rig on the stage, because I had my in-ear monitor set, and you don't get to feel the bass in your in-ears, but you get to hear it. So the overall enjoyment of it was not the most amazing feeling shows, let alone they were pretty empty anyways because everybody was locked down and at home. But it still, was sufficient, and it saved my back some trouble. This year we were playing a few more shows than we did, at the time frame of the year compared to last year. And I just realized that it would be nice to start having a small guitar amp up on the stage with me, that I would be able to have the sound behind me and the feeling behind me of my actual guitar amp while I play. But think of it in theory as my own personal bass monitor is all that my cabinet became. It wasn't really doing a whole lot because the fronts were taking care of everything, but it would still be nice when you're up on the stage to fill the void, the emptiness of the sound up on the stage for your fellow bandmates, because it does help keeping everything locked in, and it does help keeping everybody, familiar with what you're playing still. So I started doing some research, and I started talking to a couple of my friends that I know that had gear laying around, or I have one buddy that he's constantly buying guitar gear, bass guitar, regular guitar, acoustic guitar, makes no difference. He's just constantly getting gear. So we were talking, and he told me he had some speakers in his basement that he had bought on eBay at different deals. So I still had the SVT4 Pro, but I had no desire to carry around the big giant, in my opinion, 410 crate cabinet. So that brings us to, let me get this chair out of the way. If you're going to do this kind of stuff, you might as well be comfortable. Comfortable always. So, I guess I'll try and take this off of here and realign it up here in a second. Yes, sorry for my non-Vanna White skills here. I believe there's a way that I can set this thing here up. I apologize for the lack of awesome equipment, but that stuff all costs money and time, and this is all for fun. Holy crap, it keeps turning on me. I apologize. I'm putting you guys through this. Alright, I guess that's about as good as I'm gonna get. Slide this here, my table's showing. Alright, but this is all live and on air, and that's what makes it fun, I guess. Alright, so These are my cabinets. This here on the bottom is a crate 15-inch cabinet. Let me get the actual model off of it. Of course, it's not listed. I can't remember, but it's a 15-inch bass cabinet. 15 inches in the speakers. I don't see any extra portholes or anything like that. It's just a speaker. But I got this second. The first thing I got was the Hardkey. This is a Hardkey XL series 210 module, it says here, but it's a 210 bass guitar cabinet. It's pretty light compared to my crate 410s. So I got it because I could move it around pretty easy. And I was using just these 10s, and my Ampeg at a couple of shows, and it sounded pretty good. But it felt like the bass just needed a little bit more space, like a more depth on the stage. So that's why I got the 15s. Is in my opinion just to give it more of a fuller tone. I do have the desire at sometimes. I think that I might upgrade the 210s up to a 410. So whenever I play the actual big stages, which we do from time to time, I feel that it would just give a lot more of a wall of sound and a lot more power. But when you're playing them shows, you honestly don't even have to worry about it because they generally have big sound systems that they are providing for you. So you're going to be plugged in with your bass through a DI or something that's going to go through the board anyways. So this is basically just for yourself, for up on the stage, and your bandmates. Now I'm going to put my camera back now that I've got to show you a little bit about that. Sorry, bear with me here, as I am no cameraman, I am no news anchor. I am just a guy that's kind of nerdy, likes to figure out how to make things work. So, with that being said, let me tilt that up just a tick here. All right. So, these speakers here, again, they sound great. They're light. It's kind of a bummer to carry two different things, but you find different ways to fit it in your car or in your truck or however you decide to do it. We were playing a show with a couple of other local bands, and the bass player of the band, Clever Norman, and Word and them, he all right, thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, maybe I'll become famous one day. Thank you. Anyways, so the bass player, he told me I could use his bass rig because it was already set up because they were playing with us that day. And me personally, I just didn't, it didn't really matter to me. It didn't really bother me because I was just using my pedal mostly. And he hooked up his amp and everything and let me use it. And when I was playing on his system, I was like, wow, this thing sounds really crispy and really clean, especially clean. I don't know. I haven't gotten to a point where tone is all I focus on or nothing like that, because that's not true. I generally just flatline everything, and then I kind of see where I go from there, because I am still, very much an amateur bass player at this time, in my, in how I feel. But you always learn things, and you make, and the times that you learn them are opportunities like that where you're playing with someone else that has that gear, because he plays, he plays a lot of shows, and he has for a long duration of time, and so he showed, he explained to me what it does and how it works, and after that show, the very next day, I went out and I looked it up, and I bought it. And that's, again, the TC Electronic BH250. So, what you see here is a real basic setup. You got I imagine this one right here is the volume. This here is what they call a tone print, and I'll explain that. This is your treble, mid, and low. And I have no idea where they are because I just been bumping things and touching everything and get it figured out. It also, what makes this thing kind of cool is right here, it has a switch that says gain. What that does and what that's in theory for is some bass guitars are what they call passive, and then some bass guitars are what they call active. Passive basically means, well, in layman's terms, that when you have your guitar plugged in or whatever, and it emits the sound from the electronics of the bass guitar, it does not require any extra power source to make it louder or more, the tone to change. So they call it passive because there's no battery, there's no power source. It's just a straight sound from the guitar to the amplifier or output destination. And then you have active. So active is the complete opposite. It generally always has a battery because maybe the tone knobs on it add more depth and more volume, if you will, to the guitar. So a lot of times if you have a active bass and you go to plug it into a bass guitar amp, 9 out of 10 times it's super hot and it's super loud, and it's very rich and very warm, but it's almost too much. So what the gain button does when you click it, and that would be this guy, is it drops it down, the sound input from the guitar, by several decibels, to make it so it'll still keep the quality of the tone without being too overbearing. It tames it down, if you will, into like more of a funnel system, and it just puts it out at a quieter volume, but it still has depth and it still has the actual quality of the tone itself. And so gain, the negative dB button, like a pad button, they're nice to have because sometimes guitars are just too much, and if you have a certain sound you want, then it'll help tame it back. I actually don't really ever use it because I had put it on the active with my bass guitar because it's got an active EQ. And a buddy of mine at the show was like, "Man," he says, "that thing," he says, "don't you use the gain on it, or are you using the gain on it?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "No," he says, "I don't think you need to do that with that Music Man." So I turned it off, so it's just a straight volume that I get from my actual bass guitar without any bells and whistles. So what the tone print does, the tone print is quite a nifty invention and ingenuity that the amp has. So it has what a tone print does and is it's basically just your bass guitar sound effects, like your flangers, your wahs, your compression, your noise gates. All those things are called effects. And you take those effects, and a lot of people will get a bunch of pedals on the floor. You'll see them; they'll have a pedal board that that compiles a bunch of different pedals together and links them all up to change your tone. Maybe you want more punch and pizzazz in your one sound frequency, so that helps you achieve that. Or you want your guitar, every time you hit it, it might be bomb, 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 bomb with a delay, or an octaver, whatever it's pronounced. So when you're playing it, it'll take that root note that you're playing, if you're playing a B or whatever, and then it'll do either a high up or a high low. A sub octaver goes down. So if you're playing like a low B, it actually will take it down a whole nother step to a an even lower B, but it'll do them both in unison. Sorry about that. Somebody was knocking on the door, as you might have heard. I'm sure I'll find out all about that here shortly. So the tone print, it lets you get different types of sounds, and you actually transfer them from your cell phone with an app. It's actually a really crazy way that it happens. It emits the sound from the phone to this, and it automatically programs it. But so the tone print, it's just the sound effect, and then you can adjust the amount of that effect at that time. So really cool. It's got a tone print knob. So when I bought this, I guess we'll start digging into the bag as soon as I find it here. All right. So when I bought the TC Electronics head, I also bought this switch, FSX or FS3X foot switch. I got it on Amazon, Digitech pedal, and it comes with this pretty chintzy cord. Very definitely not really all that impressed with this cable, but hey, when you spend low, you get low. But so with the Digitech pedal here, does if you look, it says up, down, and mode. So the up, I can't remember which ones do what because I haven't really used it much here lately. I know the one to the up, all the one on the right is basically just clicker 1, 2, and 3. So clicker 1 is your mute. So if you don't want to turn your volume knob and you just want all your sound to come to a complete still, you hit the mute button. In theory, that pretty much standard. So this right here makes it so it'll turn on the automatic mute. And the other knob on there, again, it's got those little gray ones there sticking up. It's hard to tell. Right there. That's the gain. And then it's got another one right there, which is the mute. So you can mute your sound. And then with an adapter like this, an extension pedal, you can actually set up 2 tone prints on your BC to BH250. So you have one tone print here, you have another tone print here. When you click this, it turns it on and off. This one turns it on and off for the second one. And then you can use 2 different tone prints throughout the evening. Switch between the 2 if you'd like in a split second with your clicks. And then you again just adjust the amount of sound that you want your effect to do on the head itself. On the back, straightforward. It's got the thing with the 3 dots there over here. That is the XLR balanced sound out. So I always bring an XLR, a 25-foot XLR cable with me to every gig. So that way if I want to hook my pedal or my amp up directly to the sound system, I have that freedom and the ability to be able to do that because it's got a built-in DI box. I can't remember what DI stands for, but I know that it's a direct, maybe direct input. Again, I don't know. But it just takes your bass guitar. A lot of people have a pedal down. A lot of bigger sound systems and things, they'll actually plug your guitar into that because then they can take the signal directly to the soundboard, and then they have the freedom to adjust the sound of the bass frequencies wherever they want it, and they are able to bring that all into full circle. It has a speak on, speaker out, which I thought, I guess Better Gear has that. So I did have to buy a speak on cable. I went with a 3-foot because I was only going from here down to the heart key, which is right below it. But then I got the 15, and now that cable is stretched fully out. So I actually need to get a 6-foot or anywhere between 3 and 6 to make that a comfortable stretch from the top all the way to the bottom speaker. And then I parallel this bottom speaker back up to the hard key, so it goes down and then back up. But that's just talk. So on the back of this, you can plug in the pedal, and then you also, sorry, wrong way. You have your power switch, you have your power plug, and then some cool things here, as you see, it's got auxiliary in, and it's got a headphone jack. Both eighth inch jacks are 3.5 millimeters, so you're able to turn on, like, let's say you have your cell phone or your computer or any of those types of things. You take that, and then you take your phone, and then you hook it up to your amp. So when you want to jam along to a song, you're getting the sound also through your amp, and then you're not having to have two different devices to do that. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug a couple things in here just to get them set up. One thing that I think is really cool about this bass head is that, I don't know if you can hear it. You should be able to, because that's a really good condenser mic. Puts off some sound. Doesn't bother me a bit. It's just fans running. But as soon as you plug a headphone jack in, it turns the fan off because it's not requiring as much power to keep cool, I imagine. So we're going to plug that in, bring this down, and just get it all ready to go. Back to my gigging setup. So when I'm on stage, I bring a microphone stand. Oh yeah, because I sing a lot, so I needed a stand, so I bring that every time for myself. I did a review, which you can check out here on my YouTube page, of the Gleam music stand. I have used this since I bought it some months ago. I've used it at every show. Pretty much every band practice that we have, I generally have it set up. Only mistake that I made when I first started using it to gig out with is that you got to make sure that you really thumb these little knobs down. Obviously, with anything you don't want to move, you have to make sure that it's tight. So you got to make sure that those, or else while you're sitting there throughout the night, you might notice your stand starting to creep down, and then your tablet or your keys or your drinks or whatever you have on it also start to move. So I've gotten pretty good with this, setting it up and being done with it really, really fast here. So yeah, to follow up on that video that I did there, to anyone that watched that, or to anyone that might want to check it out and see what it's like, or if it's lessened its integrity or quality since the video, it is definitely not. I guess I'm not using my tablet. I don't need this so high. I'm actually just going to use it as a table right now. So, gigging gear. So this right here is a TC Helicon Harmonizer 2 pedal. This bad boy here is actually a pretty expensive pedal, but it's fantastic because whenever you're playing your shows, you have a little bit of reverb you can put on your vocals. I find when we gig, I never use that, and especially for going through a sound system where someone else is running it. I definitely keep the reverb off because it just adds problems for them. It's got this button here. It's called tone. It does broaden the sound spectrum, and it does sound pretty good if you're doing like by yourself, like a little acoustic show. and you need a little bit more warmth on your vocals and just better overall tone, that automatically does it when you hit the button, and it is really helpful for someone in that type of a situation. However, with us in the band, I don't personally ever use the tone sound. Um, it's like anybody that's ever used a guitar pedal, it's got an in, it's got an out, 1/4 inch. So basically from your guitar, whatever it may be, in, and then from this pedal it goes out to your amp or your sound destination, your output sound. It also has the same thing for XLRs. It's got a female and a male. One's an in, one's an out. Again, because you're linking your vocal to your soundboard. And this does have a ground lift on the model that I have. All in our band, there's 4 of us, and all 3 of us that sing and have microphones, we all have a harmonizer pedal, because we find that it's just, for certain songs, it just adds a whole lot to that. So with that being said, I have XLR cables. This one here is a pretty short one, just a couple feet. That's the one I believe I used to go from my microphone down to the pedal. And then this right here is a 1/4 to 1/4 cable, not the longest, but this actually is what I used to go from my my wireless system into the amp, because it doesn't. Sometimes it requires a little bit of a distance, which is why I have a longer one that I keep in my other case. But you need 2 1/4 inch cables like this, one to go into. So if you have a wireless system, so I'll just bring that out and we'll talk about that real quick. This is a Navy, so it's wireless. You still have to plug your guitar into it. So you take your bass guitar. For my situation, I take my bass guitar and I plug it into this, and then that right there would give off the wireless in theory. So the way that works is through, this is a receiver and this is a transmitter. So you take this guy here and you put it on your pants or on your belt loop or on your guitar strap, and then you plug this 1/4 inch cable into your guitar. And then this one has this 1/4 inch jack, and you take from here out to your guitar amp, and then that's again what hooks it up to make it wireless. So this is a Navy wireless one. I know this thing has got some age to it. I know it's been used a lot. I also got it used and use it a lot, because I like to, pretty much every show we play, I like to be wireless. And even our smaller ones that you feel like it's okay to be up on stage and just stay up on the stage and be leashed. Nah, I found out last weekend that that's not exactly the case. But that's for a different time and a different story. Got another 1/4 inch cable. So again, one's from my microphone down to the pedal, and then from the pedal over to the soundboard. So you require 2. I bought 2 25-footers, and after having to wrap them up after shows all the time, again, it's good to have just a smaller cable that you don't need to go through that with. So then I have this cord here. This is a power line multi plug. I got it set on 9 volt to a positive polarity. It's got, the only thing with these is they have the little adapters, so you can change them. But I bought it for one thing and one thing only, and that was my harmonizer pedal, because it requires a 9 volt. I don't believe, actually, you know what? I believe it does. I believe if you take the bottom out, you can put a 9 volt battery in it. Then you don't have to be wired, which would probably be good in certain situations. But then you got another battery to have to charge or replace. So that's why I bought the power adapter at that time. Was because, again, I can use that anytime. So I needed an adapter. I used that. Then I have this 80 AC adapter. You can tell it's a little older style just by the power pack for any of your gearheads out there. Just the way the stickers are written and all that stuff. And this right here was the plug that came with the 80 wireless system. This is definitely pretty fun to actually go through everything that I carry to shows regarding the bass. I do sound as well. That's not a rabbit hole I want to get into right now. In my duffel bag, I always carry this guy. I bought it at probably Home Depot because Jack from Bourbon Street, he had one, and I thought it was cool, convenient. It's got 4 plugs, and it's got your switch. And the cord itself, I think this one goes 20 foot, and it's got a crank wheel on the front. That's what this black head is, and then you just roll it up. So when you're done at the end of the night, I'll run the cord from the wall over to where I need to get power for my bass, and then I plug in my bass amp into this. Plus, of course, we use a lot of lights, and we have a lot of moving parts for our sound. That we also plug into here, but that's again in regards to being in my gig bag. And then on this side, generally always try to keep extra things laying around. So I have my fast fret. Yeah, that's conditioning and lubrication for the bass guitar neck. Got a backup low B string. I just changed my strings on a week ago, I think. I think it was the night before we played downtown. Or, yeah, last weekend we played up in Mill Creek on a Saturday. So Thursday I changed the strings. So this Friday I'm going to be ordering another set. Ernie balls. I have the sizes written down. They are in my opinion, the best sounding inexpensive 5-string bass guitar strings, and they are $20 for 5 strings on Amazon, which is super cheap because generally bass guitar strings, if you look, this is a low B. Alright, this thing is massive, so that string itself is probably worth $10 if you had to buy it individually. We got business cards, got Band-Aids, a couple of them, hand sanitizer, and let's see here. Oh, some batteries. Batteries are important depending on what type of devices you're using for your gigs. Trying to see where they are. Unless I took them out of here. They're probably in my other. I'll explain those here in a second as soon as I locate them. My fancy 9 volts. So yeah, again, there's the pedal. Yes. So for anyone out there that uses 9-volt batteries for your shows, these guys are pretty convenient. The brand is OKCell, OKCELL. It is a rechargeable 9-volt battery. If you look on the bottom, it's got like the older Android, not the big bulky square ones like the 2.0 or whatever. And then it also has a meter on it to test. So this battery is dead because I haven't charged it in a while. But I ended up buying 2 of them just because I have 2 different things that require 9-volt batteries that I actually like to use it with. One of those is my wireless system. The other one is my active pickups in the bass. That battery doesn't need replaced very often, but I did buy one just in case I wanted to in a hurry on the stage. Because if your bass loses the sound and the integrity, then it's usually the 9-volt. So that is what I have in my gig bag, which I would like to get a much better bag that makes more sense and it's not just a duffel bag. But you just make it work. If you have any suggestions on a good gig bag, anyone out there that plays, and what you use, I'm curious to see. Please feel free to leave that in the comments down below. So let me get these out of the way. Get this all buttoned up. Everything's got its purpose and everything's got its placement. When you play a lot of gigs, that is very, very certain. So you remember what pockets you put everything in the same time. You always do it the same exact rundown. Generally, just so everything's easy to find and easy to get to and easy to set up. So that was a quick, thing with the Gleam. What I use this music stand for myself, for the gigs, is tilt it back down. For this guy, my tablet. They have stand holders that you can attach to your guitar or your microphone stand that'll hold your tablet. Me, I like being able to move it around and do those things at this time in my music playing and stuff. So I bought the stand for here. It has sheet music holders, which for anybody that uses sheet music, that'd be great. For me, I don't. So it's actually kind of a nuisance. I've thought several times about cutting them off and taking wire cutters, because again, I don't use sheet music, so I have no need for those. So on this stand, I generally keep my tablet and I keep my fast fret and my cell phone all, in one spot. So that is part of my gigging rundown there that I use at the shows is the tablet. We use the tablet for, there's an app that we use. There's several other ones. There's some that are really great, and there's some that other people have told me have better features than what I use. But I use Set List Manager. What it does is you can build your set list very easily, and it'll have all of your lyrics, and it'll have everything that you put into it, all in one convenient spot. And you can scroll through them while you're on the stage. And actually, a feature that I thought was really cool about it, a friend of mine who told me about that app, which is part of the reasons why I went out and I bought it, or I bought the tablet. So you can bring up on Setlist Manager all your lyrics, but instead of scrolling through the lyrics while you're playing the show, like say you're playing a guitar or whatever, and then you gotta constantly scroll. Well, I bought this guy right here. What is that? The Donner? Yeah, the Donner Bluetooth page turner. So you can set the speed of the amount of scroll that it scrolls through the page, or if it'll just go to the next song and things like that. Maybe I'll get into that in the shorter video coming up, but that's the Donner Bluetooth page turner. Really awesome. In my bass guitar case that I bring, these guys, in-ear monitoring, very important to anyone that gets into gigging. If you're still using speakers on stage for your monitoring in every situation, I imagine like bigger shows for a lot of people that like to have speakers, whatever. We use all in-ear monitoring, all in-ears, because it cuts down your stage volume a lot. It helps on keeping feedback to non-existent, honestly. And then I keep the guitar strap that I have strap locks on. The strap locks just make sure the guitar, it clicks them in. It's got a locking mechanism that locks the straps into the guitar so they don't pull out. So if you're moving around on stage and stuff, you're not playing a song and your guitar just fall off, because that sucks when that happens. I had a guitar strap break and the bass guitar landed on the concrete and took a big chunk out of it, and that was not fun. I keep this at every show and practice. It is looks like a Road Runner. People that used to get into a lot of the Western dancing and things like that, I'm sure in the older days and things that they used them for their either they're putting it on their cowboy hats, or it's like a necktie that you could put onto your Western shirt with it looking down, so it's kind of like a tie, real fancy-ish. The reason why I bring this to every show is because this belonged to my mother, and after she passed away, I didn't carry. I didn't keep many mementos because I was in a different place in my mind. But I did have this, so I put it on the guitar strap. I put it right there. Now, that's the way I've been doing it. And then I put my guitar strap over it. And that way I bring my mom to every show with me. She's always encouraging me to just give it my all and to, kick grass. So, I have in my bass guitar case this guy. It's a Fender guitar stand. The reason why I got it is because it folds down into that, which is awesome. And then push those down, turn the little knob, spread it out. And then I find you have to push it all the way down or else it doesn't have the stability. Tighten it up, and then you have a guitar stand in a split second for up on the stage. I mean, for Christ's sake here, I've got it in my bass guitar case. How convenient is that? Fender. I've had this for a couple years, but it works great. And then this guy. Snark is the brand. Snark Guitar Tuner. They clip onto the guitar, and then it has your actual, it helps you tune up, tune down. It's got a little metronome that I don't know how it works because I got no need for that on my Snark. It was like $10 or something. And then I got this case that I keep my Shure SM58 regular. That's what I have right now. Next one I'm going to get is going to probably be the Shure SM58 Beta. If you're a bass player or a guitar player or a singer or any type of musician out there, and you have a particular microphone that you enjoy, please don't hesitate to let me know down in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and get the bass guitar out and show it to you real quick to solidify this little gigs rundown. But while I'm doing that, I wanted to say today's episode is brought to you proudly by Donch Auto. You can contact them for estimates if you've been in if you want to get some car auto body repair done, or if you're looking to get a new paint job of some sort, or insurance claims, everything. Look them up online. That's again Donch Auto. Thank you so much for that, and thanks for your support, Donch Auto. I'm gonna break out this guy here. Bam! Sticking the tuner on. I always thought it'd be fun to just do like a little rundown, so I hope you guys don't mind this video. I know it's hard to hear everything. I'm gonna end up getting clip-on microphone and things, but just like with all this, I've been working on this setup for years. Been playing lots of shows and things and learning new things. So here's what's really cool about this bass amp. I'm sure it's going to be loud. So in my opinion, which is even more cool, is the fact that you can still take this guy here, this 1/4 inch adapter, or 1/8 inch, and plug it onto your auxiliary in. I do have plans on doing some new shows and doing shows on like certain fundamentals of country music or whatever. Because this, in my opinion, at this part of my life, I am a country bass guitar player. I might not be what everyone considers a country bass player, but that's where I'm at, and that's what I enjoy to do. So, let me turn this here off. Don't want that to bleed through. Yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. While I'm getting this song here pulled up, I also wanted to say thank you to the Two Man Happy Hour podcast for keeping everybody in our area informed on what shows are going on the weekends around town. It doesn't matter what genre. It's pretty awesome that he's been doing that, and we thank you. So again, what's nice about, like, let's say this, is that you can look up a song online, whether you go onto YouTube or Spotify or anything, honestly, Amazon Music, iTunes, all that fun stuff. You can jam along to whatever song it is you want. I find it very beneficial for me. I'll get on there and I'll go on YouTube or Spotify, and I'll look up videos that have click tracks or backing music that you can play along with. It just makes it a lot more fun, and it kind of helps you just venture, because playing an instrument is always exciting, but it's also very monotonous and boring a lot of the times, and people get very bored very quickly. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this volume up, because when it's going off of your volume knob, whatever the volume of the song you listen to goes off of that, and then you just kind of gotta adjust your sound on your guitar. So I'm going to do a quick little demonstration of what it's like to do some practicing with a direct input through your auxiliary in. This is Sounds of 90 live today. Check us out on Spotify and YouTube. Enjoyed that. Again, those are the kind of examples of where things I want to show you guys in this podcast moving forward, is just how to play, little licks and stuff like that, and hopefully I can inspire you, getting inspired myself. And if I didn't bring it up, or if you didn't watch the first podcast, this right here is my Music Man Stingray 5 sub-series. I think I paid $3.29 for this, which is not a lot. This is a very cheap guitar to to a lot of the snobs and the snoobs and all the people that are real big gear entrepreneurs, but I'm not. I got this guitar because I could afford it at the time, because of the money I had saved playing shows, and I needed a better sounding bass, so this is the one I bought. I've been using it for probably 2.5 years. I love this thing. I will the next bass guitar I plan to buy will probably end up being a Music Man as well. Just because I really like their style and tones. And I know that country music out there, a lot of people are talking about Tully Kennedy from Jason Aldean's band. He uses Sadowski's. You got guys like Delaney Baker. in them, and everybody's using different things. You got the bass player from I think his name's something Rice. I'm wanting to say Chase. That doesn't sound right. But whatever, he's the bass player for Morgan Wallen, and also Mechanics Wanted. And he plays on the Joe Dart custom bass guitar in some of his videos, but he plays Music Mans and things like that. And that's, really awesome for them. When you're gigging like that, and you can, you got to work for them things. You got to put in a lot of time and a lot of shows to be able to make enough money to buy them fancy guitars. Me, this guy here, everything I've done so far that is recorded with South of 90, I've done on this bass. I'm very proud of this bass. It doesn't matter the guitar, it just matters the player. Yes, they all have variables. They have all the electronics inside of them. They have the different things. But I thoroughly enjoy this bass guitar. It's pretty straightforward. It's got a volume knob. Oh, yeah. It's got a... one does the pickups and one does the EQ. I can't remember what the difference is. So it'll go from this coil to that coil, or you can bring them together. The other one just kind of gives it a little bit more bass and things because it's got a built-in active EQ. So it helps give the EQ more frequency and more depth. It's got a 1/4-inch jack for the guitar. It's got all the saddles. The only thing that I've ran into with this guy here, they have on these little things right here, these are called saddles. And they just raise the height of your string up and the positioning on your fretboard. But they have two little Allen screws in them. And for whatever reason, the low B, those ones the one always comes loose. So I constantly got to tighten it. I've been told that I should probably put Loctite on the little tiny thing, and then that should help bind it so it doesn't, not the red Loctite, but the blue one, the one that doesn't adhesive as strong, and get that on there so that way it can, it'll stop moving as much. Eventually I'm going to learn how to get more involved and more understanding on setting my action, setting my my action and my string height and things like that. And whenever I start to do that, we'll go ahead and learn it together here on the 40 to 400 podcast. A lot of people don't realize this until you guys pointed out, but if you look here, I got 4 silver and then I got 1 gold. They were all silver, but I had a soft case for my guitar, and somebody, maybe me, might have been someone else, happened to put it in a bad area and it got stepped on, and this tuning peg got knocked off. So I ended up buying a new set. They took a while to come in, but when they did, I ended up having to re-drill because they take 4 little screws here to hold the tuners in. And I ended up having to screw out 2 holes on this one to make it line up correctly. And then I was going to put the gold ones on, but I'm afraid if I go to put the gold ones on here, then I'm going to have to drill new holes and fill in the old ones. And I have no desire to go through all that at this time. Maybe eventually I'll have someone else do it, when I can afford to pay someone to do it. But I might not be that guy. But yeah, that's the Music Man Stingray 5. I love this bass. I love the color. I love the way it feels. I love the way it looks. Right now, she's about ready for a 1-over. I need to set the action and the intonation. And I got to get it, it's pretty covered up with fingerprints and stuff. I got to give her a wipe down. And I will, because this Friday, South of 90 are going to be coming to you guys live at I believe Doc Holidays, and really looking forward to that show. Really looking forward to using some new lights that we got for that. Really looking forward to showing everybody, the new songs we've been working on and all the other fun stuff. But I want to say thanks for hanging out with me, checking out this video. I will. I guess I forgot to tell you. I also keep AA Energizer rechargeable batteries, but that's a no-brainer. I keep those always charged up for my in-ear monitors, and I keep those in my gig bag. But no, you didn't miss it if you were wondering where my guitar picks were, because I don't use them for the bass guitar, so I don't have a need to carry them. If I was playing using a pick like I used to when I played other styles of music years ago, I'd probably still use the nylon 80 to 100 millimeter thick picks, because I always liked them a little bit, a little bit more durable, but I don't use them anymore. So stick around. I plan on doing another episode here in the next few days. I have a couple of ideas I want to show you guys. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. Obviously, if it's just something to be, to seek attention, let me know. And we can find a better way to do that than to having to put negative stuff out there. But thank you again. My name is Jamie Daire. This is the 40 to 400 podcast, and we'll see you next time.